The NDP has come out with a post-mortem on its 2021 election campaign. The report concedes that the party had a credibility gap with voters. Among its findings, leader Jagmeet Singh's image took a hit due to vague statements and drew attention to criticism that its platform lacks substance. While Singh's social media use was seen in the report as a strength when it came to building support on the ground, the report asked whether his TikTok post made him look less serious. NDP National Director Anne McGrath says the party is taking action on the report.
We would do one after every election, and we learn lessons, and we try and, you can't do everything that's in a report because you have to be, there are resource issues and that kind of thing. But absolutely, we've taken the key messages from the campaign debrief to heart, and we are operationalizing.
Let's unpack that report with the Power Panel. Here for a final round with me tonight, Dimitri Soudis, Brad Levine, Nigan Sinclair, and Sharon Carr. Brad, I have to start with you. I know you've run a couple of these campaigns, so when you read through a report like this, what's the headline to you? What would be, if you were running the next one, what would be your big takeaway?
Oh, the big takeaway is not in doing the post-mortem report. That is done after each and every one. The key is that you keep it handy for when the next election comes. Make sure you have that document at the ready, because the lessons are, it's easy to forget after a handful of years. Dimitri and I were in Ottawa at the same time, and we had elections every 20 months, so it was really easy to remember the last post-mortem because it was so fresh. It was sitting on the desk the whole time. So you get better at running campaigns. But that is. I mean, every party does this after every election. The real benefit of those is if you're taking them to heart. And a couple of the. I mean, first of all, this report is not new. This came out last January, February. It's been up on the website for a while. The news report is new. That's why
it was discovered by David.
Yeah, but it's been up on the website. Never. When I saw the report come out, the CBC report, I said, Is this another one? Is this a second one? But so it's not that the NDP took all this time to do one. It's been up for a while. But some of the findings, I just want to maybe touch on a couple quick ones. One is that the notion of the idea that the party failed to easily identify the problems, but failed to necessarily hit on those solutions. Mm-hmm. I mean, focusing on the issues that people are discussing around the kitchen table, front and center, day in and day out. If we were to have an election, obviously, no question, the cost of living and inflationary, the pressures of inflation need to be front and center. So you need to make sure that you're speaking to what your audience is feeling out there, not what you want them to talk about, but you need to amplify what they're talking about. As for the seriousness of the leader, I think that's an important issue, because that has been a criticism of Jagmeet Singh since he took leadership in 2017. And I would say, certainly election times are absolutely important, but it's also, he builds his brand in between election campaigns. And I think that he has done an exceptional job with the confidence and supply agreement, getting dental care for hundreds of thousands of children by the end of this year, getting the GST rebates for hard-hit Canadians. And then today, of course, the fact that Loblaws, one of Canada's largest grocery chains, is freezing the prices of their own in-house brand, the no-name brand. They're freezing the prices till the end of January, is in direct relationship to the work that Singh and the NDP caucus have been doing. Today, we had a motion passed in the House of Commons, unanimous. So Dimitri's friends voted for it. The Liberals voted for it. Everyone voted for this motion today. And that's an example. And he's got to be able to translate his impact that he's had in the last year into concrete results in the next campaign.
Let me pick up on that point, because what I'm interested to find out is the criticism leveled in the report is basically that Dimitri, he was able to garner more support for himself in the party through his use of social media, but the voters didn't really necessarily take him ultimately too serious, and that could be vis-a-vis some impressions he left on social media, but also because of a lack, and Brad alluded to this, of not just identifying the problem and showing empathy for people, but proposing solutions that people found tangible and practical. Do you, the big, as Brad was talking about a lot of what the NDP has done, or that Mr. Singh has done, the big question I keep having in my mind is, are they actually getting credit for it? Is Mr. Singh actually getting credit for it? And if they were, would we be seeing that translate to popular support? I know polls aren't the be-all, end-all, but would we be seeing more of a translation there? Your take on that, Dimitri?
And you just hit the nail on the head, Vashi. It's almost like you've been doing political strategy yourself. He who makes recommendations does not get the credit. He who does it gets the credit. So Galen Weston will get the credit for Loblaw's freezing its prices until January 2023, and Justin Trudeau will get the credit for the dental plan and the GST rebate. You know, if we counted likes on TikTok, Jagmeet Singh would have a double majority in the House of Commons. But likes on TikTok don't translate to votes. And the reality is that in politics, timing is everything. I'll go back to 2011. Brad was there when Jack Layton had a historical result by winning more than 100 seats and the NDP becoming Her Majesty's loyal opposition. Why? Because the Liberal vote collapsed, because Michael Ignatieff at the time was a total disaster for the Liberal Party. When the Liberals are strong, and when the election is competitive between Liberals and Conservatives, and what we've seen in the last two elections is the Conservatives winning the popular vote and nevertheless the Liberals forming government. So Brad has you know, he can speak to it probably better than I. The biggest frustration for the NDP is that you have committed NDP voters who will hold their nose and vote for the Liberals in order to block the Conservatives. And the challenge for Mr. Singh, as it says in this report, but I think we all saw it, is his inability to communicate a clear agenda for the NDP at a time where the Liberals are weakened. So maybe next time will be the right time for Mr. Singh, because the current government is tired. It will be going in for its fourth mandate. But at the same time, he will have to be held accountable. And that's not me. That's the general population that will see him as the guy who potentially propped up a government that isn't that popular necessarily.
Well, that's what's so interesting, Nigan, because to Brad's point, the NDP has actually forced a lot of stuff on the government, like the dental care plan, like I'm thinking during the pandemic of many of the amendments that they made to legislation that they brought in and help that they offered Canadians, like sick days. But now it's all framed against the idea that they've come to this agreement with the Liberals. And I know that the NDP says, hey, there's lots of stuff that could make that agreement fall apart. But I think the perception the public has is that the NDP is essentially keeping the Liberals in power. And that, I feel like, makes it harder for the NDP to take credit for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, the biggest successes of the NDP have come by pushing the Liberals into this through this agreement, and therefore they won't ever get credit, as we talked about. But you know, Jagmeet Singh is really, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't. So sit in opposition, sit in third place, go through the frustration of what a report like this says, and you can hear the cracks in his leadership within the insiders of the party. People are wondering, will Jagmeet be able to take us to the next level? Almost every NDP MP that I speak to has doubt, and that doubt that is evidenced by is, can what he has appealed to in the past, which is the youth vote or the youth attraction, has that been able to turn into votes? And I think this report indicates that it has not. But one thing that I looked for in this report, when I kept reading through, I was like, when are they going to talk about the fact the Liberals have stole most of our ideas? And they never really get to that point. And I wonder,
do that a lot on TV, though.
I wonder.
Right, Brad? Keep us on hold.
Mondays on this show.
Well, I mean, this report seems to be blame all these different factors. But the thing that I really noticed in this report is this cracking of support for Jagmeet Singh. Even though Jagmeet Singh has done a pretty amicable job over his leadership to be able to get the ideas of the NDP through, the problem it might be through Liberal eyes.
He's also, Sharon, like if you look at any of those polling, the polling that I'm referencing, he's the only one who has net positives, you know what I mean, right now among the Canadian public. But again, like the punch through thing hasn't happened.
Well, I think that we saw this in the last election, and correct me if I'm wrong, given the election period, the amount of money that went into it, the amount of effort, what did the NDP come out with? One net new seat? Is something along the lines of that? And lost portions of it. So I think that Jagmeet Singh is a very charismatic individual, and I think there's a lot that he can bring to the table. But to Brad's point, to give him credit for Loblaws doing what they did is, I would say, probably unlikely. But there is a lot more that he's doing. So I think that he needs to come off as more statesmanly. He needs to come off as more, like, find a way to take more credit. Because right now, he again, does seem like the person who's carrying the Liberals along. But let's just also be real. TikTok, and he's great at TikTok. Like, I will never, ever criticize that because Lord knows I don't want to try it. But TikToks don't get you votes, right? Like, it might help make you cool with the grassroots, and it might make you trendy with people like Rihanna who like message back with him and stuff, but it's not getting you Bay Street, it's not getting you the suburbs, it's not getting you much. So I think use your TikTok as a tool and use social media as a tool, but you're the leader, not the press secretary or the digital lead on the campaign.
Okay, I have to leave it there. I'm out of time. Thank you very much, all four of you, for your time, for a great discussion.
Thank you for having
Thanks
us.
to our power panel, Sharon Carr, Dimitri Soudas, Nigan Sinclair, and Brad Levine.